Hi Silem stars, welcome back to my channel. In today's video guys, I'm going to show you how to make this lovely side gathers dress. So the gathers are put by the sides and I'm going to show you in detail how to draft, cut and sew this dress from start to finish. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Without further ado, let's get right into the video.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
So the first thing I did was to fold my fabric into four. I folded it first into two and then I folded it into four. For the back piece, it has 1.5 inches center back allowance. That's for the zipper. So the first thing I did was to mark my baseline. Now from the baseline, I'm just marking my armhole line, which is 7 inches, my bust point 10 inches, under bust 13 inches, waistline 16 inches, my hip line 23 inches, and then the length of my dress is 46 inches. Now I'm just extending all the lines. Now the reason why my armhole line is 7 inches is because this is a sleeveless dress. I want mine to be sleeveless. My actual armhole line with sleeves is 8 inches. Okay, so just go ahead and mark your desired armhole line. Now at the baseline, I'm just dividing my shoulder divided by 2, which gave me 7 inches. I'm just marking that at the baseline. Then I'm marking that same thing as well on the armhole line. Okay, so just mark that same shoulder divided by 2 on the armhole line. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect both points with a straight line. Now the width of my neckline is 4 inches, so I'm just marking that from the fold of the center front, and the depth of my front neckline is 4 inches as well. For my back neckline, the depth is 2 inches, but the width is the same with the front neckline. Now I'm just drawing a curve to connect the width of my front neckline with the depth. Just drawing a curve to create that neckline. Now from the baseline, I'm just coming down by 1 inch. Then I'm connecting that to my neck width for the front to create that shoulder slope. Now for the back, I'm connecting the back neck depth with the width with a curve to create the back neckline. Now I'm going to measure what I have from this shoulder slope there all the way to the armhole line, and I'm going to divide that by 2 and get the midpoint. Now at that midpoint, I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm going to divide my bust circumference by 4, mark that on my armhole line like so, and then I'm going to add 1.5 inches seam allowance. Now the same thing I marked on my armhole line, I'm going to mark that on my bust point line. Now on the waistline, I'm dividing the waist circumference by 4, marking that, and I'm adding 1.5 inches seam allowance. On the hip line, I'm dividing the hip circumference by 4, marking that on the hip line, and I'm also adding 1.5 inches seam allowance. Now what I have on the hip line, including the allowance, I'm going to mark that on the hem line. Okay, and then I'm going to connect all those points together with straight lines. Now I'm going to create my armhole curve using my ruler by connecting the shoulder slope. That part I went in by 1/2 inch, and then also connecting that to my bust circumference divided by 4. I'm also connecting the hip all the way to the hem with a straight line. So this is simply a basic dress pattern that we're creating. Now for the back, at the zipper allowance, I just marked the waistline, and then I'm going in by 1 inch at the waistline from the edge. Then I'm going to connect that up to the bust point line and down to the hip line. Okay, so just go in at the waistline from the edge by 1 inch, and then connect that to the bust point, and connect that down as well to the hip line. Now this is going to remove every form of or any form of zipper bulging. Okay, now once I'm done with that, I'm just going ahead to just cut out my piece by following the lines that I marked. So once I'm done, this is what we have. I'm also cutting the neckline of my front piece as well, and I'm also cutting out that part I marked at the back to remove that zipper bulging. Now to create this side gathers, we're going to come down from the waistline by 4 inches, and then from the at the hem of the front piece, we're going to go in from the fold, that's the center front fold, by 4 inches as well. Now I'm going to draw a straight line from that hem all the way up. Now when I get to 5 inches below the hip line, I'm going to stop that straight line and then connect the rest of it with a curve. So connect that straight line to that part you marked below the waist with a curve, okay? And then once we're done, I'm just going to go ahead and cut along that curve for both the front piece and the back piece, okay? So this is what we have. So we're going to use that panel to create the slash and spread. Now we're going to go ahead and add darts to our piece, okay? Now my dart is going to start from the under bust line all the way to the hip line for the front piece. Now I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurements divided by 4. My nipple to nipple is 8 inches divided by 2 rather. Nipple to nipple divided by 2. So 8 divided by 2 gave me 4 inches. So that's what I'm marking from the center front fold. Now at the waistline, I went out rather by half inch on both sides to create my darts, okay? I'm also going ahead now to just mark all those lines. So just mark the same lines. First of all, I marked the center back line, that's the zipper allowance line. And then I've also gone ahead to mark my bust point, armhole, under bust and hip line. Now for my back, the dart is going to go from my bust point all the way down to my hip line. Remember that for the front piece, the dart went from the under bust to the hip line, but for the back, it is from the bust point to the hip line. So I'm also marking my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 from the center back line. Now at the waistline, just like I did for the front, I'm going to go out on both sides of that line by half an inch, okay? So just go out by half an inch and then connect those points in order to create your dart. So I've gone ahead to join the back pieces together, and I've also put in my darts. As you can see, this is what it looks like. So just go ahead and open the seam and then iron it flat, and also iron your darts flat as well. I've also gone ahead to put in the darts for my front piece, as you can see. Now what we're going to do is we're going to join the shoulders together with half inch seam allowance, and then we're going to join the sides with the actual measurements, okay? And then I'm going to use my bias tape to pipe my neckline and also pipe my armhole, because I'm not going to be adding any sleeve. If you're going to add sleeve for yours, you can go ahead and add your sleeve. Now this is the panel here that we cut out. We're going to use this panel to create our gathers using the slash and spread method. And I'm going to show you how we do that in detail, okay? So we'll just keep our dress aside. We're done with that for now. Now this is what our panel looks like, okay? Just making sure that I'm looking at the wrong side for both pieces. Now this is the front and the back for one side, okay? So this is one side, the front and the back. Now I just measured what I have at the hem, and what I have is about 7 inches. So I'm just going to mark 2 inches in the intervals. I'm going to divide this piece by 3, okay? So since it's 7, I just assumed that it was 6, or I just approximated it to 6 inches. And then I just marked 2 inches intervals, and I just extended those lines, okay? So just from the edge, just mark 2 inches, 2 inches, and then extend those lines all the way up, okay? So once we're done, we're going to go ahead and label our pieces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's important that you label your pieces so you don't get confused, okay? So once you're done labeling, all you have to do now is just cut along those lines for all the pieces. So like I said, this is just one side, so you just need one side in order to do this slash and spread method. You don't need to use the 2 sides, okay? So just take the front and the back panels for just one side. And then just cut along those lines. Now after cutting it, I'm going to take my fabric. My fabric is on fold, as you can see. Now the length is 31 inches and then the width is 60 inches. Okay, so I went ahead to cut along the fold to separate both pieces, as you can see. Okay, now since we have 6 panels, I'm going to divide this width that I have by the number of panels we have. Now the width we have is 60 inches and we have 60 panels, so I did 60 divided by 6 and that gave me 10. So the distance between my pieces, after I've done the slash and spread, the distance between my pieces will be 10 inches. Okay, so I've placed my pieces 10 inches apart. So I've placed it 1 2 3 4 5 6 according to their numbers. I just placed them, and then the distance between all the pieces is 10 inches. Okay, so I'm just marking the outline of the pieces now, as you can see, just following that curve. Okay, see that number 1 is curved in that way. I'm just following, the curve of the pieces, and then I'm just cutting it all the way around. All right, so this is what my piece looks like once I'm done cutting. Now I'm going to go ahead and take out all the pieces, and then I'm going to fold, this piece that you see right here. I'm going to fold it so I can get the midpoint at the top, and I'm just going to notch that midpoint. It's important you notch that midpoint because it's going to assist you when you're joining, your gathers to your dress. Okay, now this is our dress. What we're going to do now is we're going to get that midpoint of the gathers, or of the gathers piece. We're going to now turn or move our dress in such a way that we can see the side seam. Okay, so that side seam you have there, you want it to align with the midpoint of your gathers piece. Okay, as you can see what I'm doing now. So just go ahead and pin the side seam of your dress, that's one side, with one of your gathers pieces, and then you also want to align and make sure that the hem of your dress aligns with the hem of your gathers piece. Okay, so just go ahead and align it like this. So make sure that the hem aligns. So can you see now the hem aligns? Now from the hem all the way up by 18 inches, you're going to go ahead and sew straight stitches. Okay, from the hem all the way up. So can you see I'm measuring that 18 inches now? So just sew straight stitches. Do the same thing for the other side. Once you've pinned the midpoints together, just go ahead and align the hem. Make sure that the hem of the gathers piece and the hem of your dress align. So just pin them at the hem, and then from the hem you're going to sew 18 inches of straight stitch. Okay, do not gather at the hem or do not gather close to the hem. Just sew straight stitches and make sure you measure 18 inches. Now this 18 inches is because of the length of my dress. My dress is 46 inches. If your dress is maybe knee length, you can make that straight stitch 10 inches. Okay, so once you've done the straight stitch, all you have to do now is just go ahead and gather the rest of the piece. You can do tiny pleats. Okay, and then just pleat it on your sewing machine, or you can actually just create gather stitches and then sew it to your dress, whichever one you prefer. For me, I ended up doing tiny pleats because I felt it was just easier for me to do. Same thing with the other side. You want to start with a straight stitch from the hem all the way up. Okay, start from the hem all the way up, just do straight stitch. Remember that at the beginning when we're cutting, we drew a straight line first before we do the curve. So you simply want to sew the straight stitch where you have that straight line. Okay, so once you've done the straight line or the straight stitch, you go ahead and gather the rest of your piece. Okay, now once I was done with mine, this is what we have. Now as you can see, the bottom part is not equal. All I'm going to do is I'm simply going to just trim it so that they are all equal in length, and then I'm also going to attach my zipper at the back. Okay, and this is the finished look, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.